Hello everyone, with you on AniMap. Today I will tell you about the anime One Punch Man Season 2. Happy viewing! Saitama and Genos return from the shop where they bought the ingredients for the soup. Behind them, in the distance, is a 7SS class hero, the strongest of the people, Great King, who goes to the game store to buy a new game. Suddenly, the area is attacked by a monster called Tongue. However, King stands in his way, whom he did not expect to meet here. The crowd of people recognizes King, and they begin to rejoice and ask King to destroy the villain. The frightened monster is shocked by everything that is happening, so he just gives up and asks for his mercy. And King goes home happy because he bought a new game. On the way home, he is attacked by the G4 robot, which is destroyed by Genos, since King, under the pretext of going to the toilet, frightened by the robot's attack, simply ran home. After defeating G4, Genos goes to his creator, Professor Kuzan, and asks to improve his body, due to the parts taken from the body of the G4 robot. Saitama came to visit King to ask why the strongest King ran away from the robot. However, King doesn't have time to answer as a crow monster breaks into the wall of his apartment, causing King to get scared and Saitama to put the monster to sleep with one blow. Saitama realized that King is not the strongest hero. It turns out that in the past the nickname of the strongest of the people, King, came from the victory of a hero unknown at that time to Saitama. Saitama suggests that King becomes stronger and simply walks away. Meanwhile, in the office of the Association of Heroes, the head of Sitch's department is meeting with bandits and thugs, who have an important business. Suddenly, Sonic appears, who is looking for Saitama, but he does not find him. He decides to steal the papers with information about the plans of the Association of Heroes, and reveals all the cards. It says that the Association of Heroes is depressed, and therefore wants to ask for help from bandits and thugs. After the job is done, Sonic just walks away. At this moment, the first in B class Hell Blizzard, whose name is Fubuki, she finds out that Saitama was in B class, and therefore wants to recruit him into her personal gang. Garu is a student of the Silver Fang who hunts heroes. At the Hero Association meeting, he eliminates 3 Class A heroes, as well as all the bandits and thugs that were at the meeting. Genos, while at home, notices the monster, which he decides to destroy. However, this monster turns out to be Sonic, who came to take revenge on Saitama. Genos and Sonic begin to fight. They are both very fast, so they deliver blows comparable to the speed of light. But none of them give up. Then Genos decides to attack even faster, but Sonic demonstrates his speed, with which he multiplied himself. He entangles Genos and slams him into the ground. At this time, Fubuki and her subordinates came to Saitama, who invited him to join their gang. However, Saitama immediately refused, thus angering Fubuki. She ordered her guys to destroy Saitama. But he made only one blow, and the fighters took off. Then Fubuki decides to punish Saitama herself and show him all her power. However, she fails and she loses. Saitama accidentally sees the fight between Genos and Sonic, and decides to fight his old enemy. Sonic uses the tenfold shadow technique, which Saitama can't resist. But Saitama performs a side-to-side jump technique, and Sonic flies away from the shockwave. Fubuki is shocked by Saitama's strength and decides to tell the reason why she came to Saitama, as well as about her sister Tornado. But King comes to take his game away from Saitama, and Fubuki is again shocked, as she still cannot believe that a Class A hero communicates on equal terms with a Class B hero. At the Silver Fang martial arts school, teacher Fang beats up his best student, Shiranko, and kicks him out of the school. Shiranko tells all about it to all Saitama and Genos. They realize that Shiranko's expulsion from the school was Bang's plan to destroy Garu. Without hesitation, Shiranko goes in search of Gara, and unexpectedly becomes a witness of Garu's fight against the 16th and S-Class Mike Master and his team in t-shirts, as well as a disenfranchised driver. At the end of the battle, Shiranko himself joins, whom, like everyone else, Garu sent to sleep. Meanwhile, Silver Fang and his brother go looking for the hero hunter. Saitama came to the hospital to the heroes that Garu sent to sleep. There he tries to collect as much information as possible about the hero hunter. After talking to Shiranko, Shiranko gives Saitama a ticket to the martial arts tournament. Saitama decides to enter the tournament, but under the account of Shiranko. Garu is talking to a boy named Torio, who is holding a hero guide that Goro wanted to learn. Next, the battle of the 26th in the A class of the Golden Ball and the 28th in the A class of the Spring Mustache begins against the hero hunter Garu, who defeats them without any problems. At the market, Saitama was looking for a wig for himself, but he accidentally met Garu, who was standing in front of a wig stand. Then Garou attacks Saitama, and Saitama in turn knocks out Garou with one blow. Since childhood, Garou has always been rooting for monsters, but heroes have always won. In his opinion, this was unfair. The information about Garou's victory over the S-class heroes reached the office of the Hero Association. They are concerned about their safety, and therefore decide to use the strongest heroes to protect the heads of the association. King is called first, but he immediately refuses. As a result, the Steel Bat becomes the defender of one of the investors, which he is not very happy about. Steel Bat leaves for a couple of minutes to talk with his sister on the phone, as the monsters immediately attack the investor and his son. But Steel Bat sees this, and defeats these monsters without much difficulty. However, even stronger monsters appear, which at first beat him, but he has enough strength to defeat them. Unexpectedly, a dragon danger level monster appears, an ancient centipede that slams the Steel Bat into the wall with one blow. He still manages to inflict a good blow on the monster, but with the second blow, the centipede throws him back several tens of meters. At Saitama's registration as Shirenko for a martial arts tournament, Saitama meets the real-life senpai Shirenko, whose name is Skull. Saitama hides his face so he doesn't get suspicious. The Hero Association tries to contact the Steel Bat, but nothing comes of it. An urgent meeting is being held at which they receive news of the attack on all cities at the same time. The Steel Bat, after being hit by a centipede, after flying several tens of meters, falls right in front of Garou, and they begin to fight. The Steel Bat attacks Garou, but he deflects all of his attacks. Then the Steel Bat decides to use the hurricane move, but for Garou it is too weak, and he pushes him back a couple of meters. Garou thinks that he has won, but the Steel Bat is once again undermined and is already swinging at Garou's head, but he is stopped by his younger sister, whom he promised that he would not fight in her presence. Then Garou decides to leave Steel Bat and his sister alone and just walks away. There were two monsters watching the fight between Garou and Steel Bat, one of which decides to take Steel Bat's sister hostage. However, Garou intervenes and destroys the monster. The second monster says that he is a representative of the Monster Association and offers to join their ranks. But Garou refuses. Then all the monsters are ordered to take more hostages and retreat back to the lair. The opening of the martial arts tournament begins. List all the participants and talk about the strongest of them. In the first battle, the famous Suiryu went against Lightning Max. Suiryu wins with one blow, and proves that he is really strong. Genos is watching the fights and suddenly he gets a notification about the attack of a large number of monsters, and goes to fight them alone. First, he decided to deal with the Face Ripper. He quickly attacks him with two swords, however, Genos has strong armor and he destroyed it with an electric fist. On the way, he meets the Awakened Cockroach, which moves very quickly. But Genos has a special move for people like him. Super glue flows from his legs, thereby sticking the enemy. And Genos makes a decisive blow. Meanwhile, the fight between Saitama and Bakuzan begins. Saitama, as usual, defeats him with one blow. Suiryu, motivated by Saitama, ends the fight with one punch. The Super Garden monster takes on a bunch of heroes effortlessly. Fubuki's team then appears, but Super Sada takes control of Fubuki's people with her charms. However, her charms do not work on Fubuki herself. It turns out that the target of this monster was not Fubuki herself, but her sister Tornado, whom she wanted to lure out and defeat. However, at the appearance of the tornado, Super Sada got goosebumps from fear. And so she runs away in quiet horror, hiding behind the captured captives. It turns out that the monsters are controlled by the king of monsters, Orochi, who lives in the lair of the Monster Association with his assistant Psychos. And in the tournament, Saitama defeats Furry Face. After that, he advanced to the semifinals, where he faced off against a genetically engineered human named Chose, but Saitama also defeated him with one punch. He gets to the final of the tournament. In City Y, the Emperor's child fights against the jellyfish, in which the child wins, as the pig god helped him by eating the jellyfish. Next comes Drive Knight vs normal monsters, and Sweet Mask vs a lot of monsters, where the heroes quickly win. It also shows super fast Saint Flash fighting a giant octopus monster, which is eventually destroyed by Tornado. At this time, a secret meeting of the strongest swordsmen, who were gathered by the Atomic Samurai, is held to discuss a plan to destroy the Hero Hunter. Suddenly, one of the swordsmen whose name is Harajirai turns out to be a ward of the Monster Association. He ate a monster cage to turn into a monster. He also suggests that the others eat these cells, otherwise he will destroy them all. Having chosen the moment, the Atomic Samurai destroys the traitor with one move. As a result of the meeting, they decide to go in search of Garou, but before that, find and destroy the Monster Association. Meanwhile, fighting continues at the martial arts tournament. Saitama and Suiryu come out in this fight. Initially, Suiryu tests his opponent with kicks and concludes that Saitama is a strong opponent. Then he starts a kick fight, where he takes Saitama a couple of meters, and then throws him up and instantly slams him into the ground. But Saitama gets out of the hole as if nothing happened. Then Suiryu decides to throw another punch, after which the wig falls out, and Saitama is disqualified. However, Suiryu wants to end their fight to show his true strength. Enraged, he unleashes a series of punches, but the stone-faced Saitama just stands there. Then Suiryu kicks him back to perform his move. However, Saitama countered his attack by pushing him with his hip. Suiryu flies away, and thereby loses the proceeds of the cup, which became the owner of Suiryu. At the same moment, monsters appear, led by Goketsu. Several fighters from the tournament attack him. However, he takes them out in one hit. Goketsu throws monster cages on the ground, and offers those who wish to get a new power. Several fighters agree and begin to devour the cells, thereby turning into monsters. However, Suiryu shows his strength to new monsters, and in a couple of blows he destroys all the newly minted monsters. Then Suiryu is left with one opponent, Goketsu. He throws monster cages at him, and launches a flurry of punches. But Goketsu knocks Suiryu to the ground with one blow. He decides to crush him, but Suiryu gathers strength, and begins a new series of attacks, after which not a single scratch remains on Goketsu. Distracted by people, Suiryu receives a blow, thereby breaking his arm. Goketsu then steps on him, but Suiryu raises his foot and climbs out, delivering a kick that catches Goketsu. He delivers decisive blows and Suiryu loses. But Goketsu does not want to finish off Suiryu himself, so he gave him to 3 monster crows to be torn to pieces. All this was watched by Bakuzan, who, due to his jealousy of Suiryu, decides to become a monster. He eats several cells at once, after which he simply loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Lightning Max and Viper arrive to help Suiryu. The 3 of them defeat the Ravens. Suiryu invites everyone to retreat, but the heroes do not agree with him. Then Suiryu decides to leave alone, but the Bakuzan monster appears on the way, which inflicts a flurry of blows on Suiryu, thereby knocking him out. Goketsu invites Bakuzan to follow him to the Monster Association's lair, but Bakuzan believes that no one can order him and attacks Goketsu. He, in turn, shows who is the boss here, and just leaves. Bakuzan decides to finish everyone off, as he loves to humiliate the weak. Suiryu asks for help with the last of his strength. At that moment, Saitama appears and heads towards Bakuzan. Bakuzan immediately starts attacking Saitama. He lands several hits on Saitama, but then Saitama destroys Bakuzan with one hit. Suiryu thanks Saitama for saving him and also warns him that there is a creepy monster outside the arena called Goketsu. Then Saitama goes in search of Goketsu. Suiryu begins to panic that his savior will be destroyed, but Goketsu's head lands right in front of the prone Suiryu, who is shocked by Saitama's strength. Saitama arrives and asks not to talk about the fact that he pretended to be Shirenko. Suiryu realizes that he also wants to become a hero and asks to be Saitama's apprentice. Saitama refuses. Saitama meets King. They talk about Saitama's mood, and suddenly Garou appears, who notices King and decides to attack him. However, Saitama kicks Garou into the wall. At the training field, Sonic encounters 2 ninja survivors who have come to recruit him into monsters. They show their level of power, which impresses Sonic. They leave him a monster cage. At home, Sonic ponders whether or not to be a monster, but in the end he decides to weld the cage. He eats it, which causes indigestion. Saitama and King play video games where King defeats Saitama non-stop, causing Saitama to become furious. A staff member who is controlled by a parasite monster breaks into a meeting at the Hero Association's office in order to convey a message from the Monster Association. The parasite destroys one member of the Hero Association. However, he is thrown back by Chernoblesk, 11th in the S-class. Then the parasite comes out of the body, and tries to take over Chernoble's body. However, his muscles are too strong for the parasite, and he simply crushes the monster. Meanwhile in the Monster Association's lair, Sikas tells all the monsters the plan to destroy the Hero Association. However, the monsters do not support it. Then the leader Orochi decides to intimidate everyone. He finds a defeated, but surviving cockroach monster, and eats it. The next target is Super Sada, but Psycho stops him as she could be useful. Genos has undergone modernization and has become many times stronger. 4 boys found someone in their hideout. After voting, they send Terio to the hideout, where he meets Garu, who is trying to recuperate after the fight. Suddenly, a whole crowd of heroes appears in front of the shelter, including Death Gatling, Smile Man, Sting, and 5 more heroes. They all came to destroy Garu. But Garu notices this crowd of heroes, and decides to quickly study their abilities with the help of the Atlas of Heroes. Then Garu decided to go out and fight the heroes to finally complete the list of 100 defeated heroes. Bullets and arrows fly at Garu, but he easily dodges them. He is surrounded on all sides, and every hero strikes at him. Then he is asked to surrender. Garu's mind becomes cloudy as the poison arrow hit him. Having gathered, he begins to counterattack and destroy several heroes in a couple of minutes. Then the Death Gatling decides to use his machine gun, and Garu takes cover from the bullets by the rookie. But the newcomer wanted to be useful to the team, and not having time to launch an attack, Garu already defeats him. This is seen by Sting, who wants to avenge his friend, but Garu stops his attack and begins his series of counterattacks. As a result, Garu defeated 7 heroes, and only Death Gatling remained, who decides to use his death volley to finish off Garu. However, nothing works, as Garu is too strong. Torio learns that Garu is a monster and runs away from him screaming. The wounded Garu is attacked by the rejuvenated Genos, who begins to attack him ferociously. They fight as equals, but Garu slams him into the ground. However, Genos uses a blast wave that hits Garu. Then Garu decides to repeat the movements of the watchdog, thereby tearing off Genos' prosthesis. But Genos can even remotely control his body, and so with the help of a fart, he ties Garu to a tree. But he rested on him, and after a volley of Genos got out of the trap. Several monsters emerge from the ground, which Genos handles with no problem. Silver Fang and his brother Bang come to the aid of Genos, who deal with the second group of monsters, and only Garu remains. Bang asks Garu to fight him. Meanwhile, Saitama is losing 81-0 to King, which makes him furious. Saitama remembers that he hasn't seen Genos in a couple of days and decides to go looking for him. The epic battle between Bang and Garu continues. Bang starts attacking Garu, who only defends himself. Garu decides to strike, but Bang blocks all of his attacks and continues his furious attacks. With the last of his strength, Garu tries to hide, but he is not allowed to do so. A phoenix monster appears in the sky, tasked with saving Garu. The heroes continue their attacks on Garu. Then Garu decides to hit the ground, and at that moment a monster picks him up. Genos tries to shoot them down, but an ancient centipede appears and takes Genos' blow. They begin to fight the ancient centipede, but the heroes fail to defeat it. Bang and his brother grab Genos and run away from the centipede. At this moment, King appears, and with a mouthpiece lures the centipede to himself, saying that he brought Blast. One day, Blast defeated a centipede and she vowed revenge. The centipede charges at King, but at the last moment, Saitama appears and destroys the ancient centipede with one blow. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like and press the bell so as not to miss new videos. AniMap was with you. Bye everyone.